Hi y'all! It's getting a little late, so the lighting in this video might be a little wonky, just a heads up. But I really want to do this, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and start filming regardless of the sun not agreeing with me. Here's hoping it works. So I have been drawing in sketchbooks since about 2015, 2016, about that spot. I still have never filled up a sketchbook, but that's kind of irrelevant. I have about 7 or 8 sketchbooks now, and in the span of, about 6 years since I've started drawing and recording my art in sketchbooks, I've improved quite a bit. And so I thought, hey, what if I redrew a bunch of my old art? And this was partially inspired by Drawing with Waffles. She redrew her entire first sketchbook, and that video was really fun to watch. I watched it twice, in fact, and I wanted to do something similar. So I have here a sketchbook, and let's get started. So I have here my entire collection of sketchbooks as far as I know, and it numbers 8 in number. That was redundant, oh well. Anyway, yes, I have 8 sketchbooks. Starting off with my oldest sketchbook, I'm just going to show you the first 5 pages of each sketchbook because I've already started to redraw a little bit and I've gotten up through the 5th page of each book. So just give you guys an idea of what it looks like, what I redrew, and yeah, I had so much fun looking through and seeing all of my progress throughout the years. Practice really does make progress, y'all. It doesn't make perfect, it makes progress, and I have a lot of progress, so I'm really pleased about that. To any younger artists out there, fill out a sketchbook, do it as consistently as you can, and you'll definitely see it pay off. One thing I would advise you to do is put the date that you start your sketchbook and then put the date that you finish your sketchbook so you know how many years or months time span is in a certain sketchbook. That's something that's really interesting to look on later. Another thing I'd like to say is when you're learning something new, whether that be proportions or line art or anything like that, it is okay to trace someone else's work as long as you do not post it and you do not claim it as your own. Even write the credit in the sketchbook of where you got it from. It's okay to learn from it and take inspiration from it, just never, never, never claim it as your own, and never, never post it unless they are expressly tell you that it is okay to do so. Please do not be an art thief. Thank you. So this sketchbook is from the beginning of quarantine, March 2020. When quarantine was announced, the first 2 weeks, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have all this time to draw. My goal is to finish a sketchbook before quarantine ends. Well, spoiler, I did not do that, and quarantine hasn't still really ended, so I don't know, maybe that's my fault. Maybe I need to finish up that sketchbook. But one thing I really am proud of is how much I've progressed since just March 2020. I don't know if you guys know about that TikTok trend that says show your art before COVID, during May, and then now. But yeah, I had a major art glow up. So if COVID was good for one thing, it was good for my art. This big blue sketchbook was from about August 2020 starting off, and it was for my high school art class. And I just kind of had a little bit of scribbles in here. This sketchbook right here, my friend gave me in December 2020 for Christmas, and I just kind of started filling it out, and I tried to promise myself that I would put decent amount of effort into each page and I wouldn't scribble. Sometimes I sort of give up and just started scribbling random doodles, but then I look back and I'm like, why, I put a little bit of more effort in, and you'll see that here in sketchbook number 5, which was my 3rd sketchbook for art, no, my 2nd sketchbook for my art class, and I was trying to put a little bit of effort in, and I made some rules for myself, and I started kind of mapping out what I wanted my sketchbook to look like. And again, this one was from March 2021, the other one you saw was from March 2020. Huge progress and I'm proud of myself. Okay, now that I've shown you the first 5 pages of all 7 of my sketchbooks, it is time to start redrawing. So a few notes to myself. I labeled this my 6th sketchbook. It's actually my 8th, and we're just gonna roll with that. And for the redraws, I want to see my style change, and then I'm also going to give myself a little bit of freedom to interpret the drawings how I want. I don't want to make it concrete exactly the same. And one more note, I've never finished a sketchbook. Oh well. So here's the first page of redraws, and particularly really like the little bunny, the foxes, and the girl on the top. Yeah, this was really fun. It was the first one I did, and I like how it turned out. It's a good start. On this one, I kind of like how the banners turned out. I drew Alina from the Grishaverse, I drew a mermaid, and that boot. I really like that boot. I'm not sure why. And third page, just mostly some random doodles, but the feather I really liked. I really liked that girl off in the corner, and I really like the girl with the braids. I'm having a lot of fun with this layout of kind of just filling the entire page and mushing it all together. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I had a lot of empty space in my earlier sketchbooks. So I redrew the Y girl, and this robot right here, I'm in love with this robot. I would not mind a robot takeover if it looked like these adorable robots. He's amazing, I love him. That's hands down my favorite thing on this page, and possibly the entire sketchbook so far. On this page we have some banners, some little doodles, misshapen Among Us character, Luna Lovegood, Katniss, and Rapunzel. Good stuff. And that was the first 5 pages of my redraw sketchbook. So now I'm going to show you the 7 drawings that I'm going to be doing for the 6th page in my redraw sketchbook. There's a pretty large variety of doodles, plants, and people, which is what I'd like to see. I don't really like drawing all of one thing over and over. So, and now let's get to what you are all here for, redrawing my old art. So throughout my sketchbook I've been using this little sort of bubble font, and it just takes a few seconds to make, and its intention is to just be sort of sketchy. So for the first redraw I'm doing this sort of, I don't know, she looks like a woodland princess to me, a fairy or something. I'm not sure if y'all will get those vibes, but that is the vibes I'm getting. So I'm just sketching out her body, kind of noting how the original pose looks, and then just kind of tweaking it to make it a little bit more natural. It still ends up looking a little off, but that's okay. I didn't want to spend too much time on it because I have a lot of other drawings to get to. I gave her really long eyes just to make them pop a little bit and make her seem a little bit more magical. I had a lot of fun drawing her hair with like the loose curls. For some reason that's absolutely my favorite hair to draw, is just those defined loose curls. I gave her a little wreath crown, tightened up her dress, shaded it a little bit, shaded it a lot actually, and voila! We have a woodland fairy princess. I also went back and defined her arms a little bit, kind of tried to figure out the hands, but didn't really get into that too deeply, just enough that you could kind of tell what the intention was. And then I added some music notes from the original page, because after all, if she's a fairy, it kind of makes sense that she would have a little bit of music, and I just kind of made it swirl around her. And the first redraw is finished, so I just label which sketchbook it came from, and we are on to the next drawing. The original page had a drawing of a girl that was actually a DTIYS, and just a face with some hair and then a flower, and I decided to take the hair, take take the face and take the flower and merge it all into one drawing. This was a pretty simple drawing, especially because there wasn't any body or hands to worry about, and I just kind of had some fluffy hair, and then I threw in the flower and the hair. I darkened it to make it a little bit more depth and just a little bit more interest. I took inspiration from the original shirt, and then I added in the flower just to add a little bit of interest and keep it from looking so plain. I labeled which sketchbook the drawing was from, and now we are on to the next drawing. So this soprano note made out of water was actually a drawing that I spent a fair amount of time on. I think I spent maybe half a class period or 3/4 of a class period on it. So I kind of figured there was no way I was going to get it to look quite as good. Luckily I was drawing it smaller than the original, which means I didn't have to have quite as much detail. So I just kind of did my best to keep it a little bit more minimal because I did not want to spend 30 minutes on it, obviously. And overall I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I tried to keep the shading to a minimal with still getting it in there, and I think I succeeded. By the way, drawing with this watery effect is actually really fun, and I would highly recommend it. So this next page is just 2 characters, and they kind of remind me of a certain character in a book I read. I can't quite put my finger on the first one that I drew, but the second one reminds me of Ginny Weasley. So there's that. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but there you are. For some reason, the nose was giving me so much trouble and I couldn't get it to look exactly how I wanted. I think I ended up redrawing it 3 times. I'm still not totally pleased with the results, but it looks alright. First I had it too big, then I had it too small. So I guess I'm a little bit like Goldilocks. I have to get it just right. So when I first started drawing many years ago, whenever I would draw people, I would always forget to give them eyebrows. And so a lot of my early people look pretty wonky because they're missing their eyebrows. And now the ironic thing is eyebrows are actually one of my favorite parts of the face to draw. I just think it's kind of funny how much I flip-flopped from completely getting them to them being my favorite part. When you first started drawing people, what was a common mistake that you always used to make? I'm really curious what crazy things you guys were up to, considering I was literally forgetting to draw a part. Oh, and then also I would hardly ever draw ears. I just draw the hair to cover them up, which I still do pretty often, but at least I can draw a decent ear now. So this page had 3 doodles on it, but I decided to just draw the ukulele because the other 2 weren't really that interesting to me and I didn't want to force myself to draw them. So I actually was looking at my ukulele as I was drawing this, and I think it's one of the best ukuleles I've drawn. I have several of them scattered throughout various sketchbooks, and they usually look pretty bad, not gonna lie. But this one at least resembles a musical instrument, so I think that's progress. This next page had some cute little Polaroid-esque cameras, and these were really fun to draw, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really think I could improve upon what I already had drawn, but I think the styling, just little small things made them look a little bit better, and they were really fun to draw. I've kind of been thinking about getting into photography, and I probably will at some point. I'll probably be super into it for 3 or 4 months, and then it'll just kind of fizzle out. So I'm kind of waiting to buy a nice camera since they're so expensive. But yeah, enjoyed these cameras. Might possibly get into photography later, just a heads up on that. So right here, my phone ran out of camera space, so I just took pictures of the last little part of the drawing. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If y'all enjoy watching me redraw my art, we can turn it into a series because I really like it too. Bye!